And we are here to speak more about attention, to prepare ourselves for the workshop. And we wanted to look at an aspect that is kind of super common and super bewildering at the same time. And that is where people place their attention. And you spoke about this, us being animals, and what does an animal need to do to ensure its survival? It needs to pay attention to its surroundings. But what do? Pay attention to our thoughts, to our navel, to and trying to manipulate everybody to pay more attention to us, or the kind of attention that we would like them to pay to us.
Yeah.
So let's dive into this weird experience.
So it's a very powerful intro, and it's already putting the finger on the trigger. Absolutely. The issue is the orientation of attention. Because it's not that we don't have attention. We have maybe, it's fragmented, it's a bit confused, it's not really fully in our control. But it's also the issue of the orientation, of what actually I'm doing with my attention. Sorry. And when we observe ourselves as humans, even like an anthropologist would do, when they go to a special tribe, and you see people holding a phone and taking a selfie in the middle of the street, and the buses and the people and God knows what's happening around them, and you say, interesting. Or that we are able to speak very profoundly about our emotions while things happen around us in life that we might be completely oblivious to.
Yes.
And we can be very busy with ourselves, which is, again, it requires attention. So we might say, hey, I have a lot of attention, but we should also ask, where do you invest it? And this is the thing that becomes so interesting about humans, that nowadays attention is a resource. We can talk about it, we can try to enhance it, but we also have to reorient it.
Yes.
And part of this orientation, already with the body, when I'm moving from my mind, let's say from my thoughts and my inner world, people experience as a mental inner sphere. When I move to the body, when I expand my attention, and I start to sense, okay, this is how I stand, this is how I move, all right, now this is happening. Already this, through the body, because the body is part of the landscape, and it is in the landscape, and it has a perspective into the landscape. It's an agent in the surroundings. Already by moving my attention from my mind to my body, I'm already on the way to be more present and to start shifting my awareness to my surroundings. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to go to the other extreme and neglect ourselves, not care about ourselves, never look in the mirror. But we do have to strike a balance.
Yes, and if I may add, I think many people, when asked to feel their bodies and come home to their bodies, they find that they don't like it. They don't like their bodies because it doesn't look a specific way, it doesn't feel a specific way. You know, like they come home to themselves and they're like, what kind of house is this?
Absolutely.
It looks.
I know the feeling.
Houses look different in Instagram. Like, what is this? What kind of house is this?
Interesting point.
So how, if there's so much happening on the surface of our bodies and we pay so much attention to the surface, how it's not so easy to not attach to this, right? To not be busy, not be busy, to not pay attention to how do I look, how am I perceived. Like it's a lot to ask to pay less attention to.
Absolutely, and we don't come with a demand, but we do want to open a door, and we also want to come friendly. It might not be the perfect house. I might look in the mirror and not like my nose. It's completely fine. But it's still your family. It's still your home. It's still your tribe. It's still your neighborhood. This is your hometown, as this song goes. Now, there could be issues that we need to address. What we want to do it is we want to do it with friendliness, with human touch, just like we would do with the dog or with the cat. To also do with this one. Okay, so I understand you're not the most whatever that I thought you should. And this, I'm talking to me now. I can put those judgments aside and learn to refresh the screen. It's almost like a screensaver. Not just looking at, hey, Lami, you are bad. This is most of us what we have.
Yes.
By the way, it's very awkward because on the one hand, we want everybody to look at us. On the other hand, when we look at the us, it's like, hey, Lami, you are bad, or you're not whatever enough, and you are getting old, or you're getting na-na-na, and we all have this. And what we want with this friendliness is to come fresh, willing to collaborate, cooperate, to resonate with, to be friendly with, and to start to re-establish a new contact with the body. And body doesn't mean perfect, body doesn't mean God, body doesn't mean forever, body, blah, 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 blah. All these extra dramas around just put more strain and more stress. And nowadays, because of part of the culture of the selfie and of the social media and how you're supposed to curate your own pictures to look better, we speak about teenagers, young kids, 12, 14, already with depression and with suicidal thoughts. So we do have to address these issues, and what we want to do is to look at it a bit like nature. Not every tree you see in the forest is the most amazing perfect tree according to I don't even know what. Guys, girls, take it easy. Just catch up with this one. This is your entry point, and reorient the attention. And even on the way, we sometimes discover that we are really going a little bit nuts.
Yeah.
Like, everybody look at me, and I hate myself. It can be completely the same thing.
Yeah.
And you say, like, hello? Which kind of monkey is that? This is me. Okay, so home is a mess. But we can still go home, do the dishes, kiss the husband, take care of the cat, water the plants. This is home. There is something, it doesn't have to be in the heavens with perfection, and it doesn't have to be kicked in its head on the floor. We are going to extremes that are unreasonable, and it's something that we meet every day. So I would say, let's wake up, let's pay attention to this madness, and reorient our attention. On the one hand, see our surroundings, feel our bodies. Notice also what happens with us, but not as the center of everything, because this is very dangerous. If we take the metaphor you mentioned before, which is not even a metaphor, it's true. We are an organism. We are an animal. We are a primate. So, and we are at the very, very top of the food chain. We are a predator, even if you don't like it. You go hunting carrots, or you go hunting mammoths. You go hunting, okay? We don't have to open this now, but we are transforming the entire planet. We are a very, very powerful species.
Yes.
So for this kind of a predator, if you think of a lion, in Madagascar, this cartoon movie, there is a lion that is fully busy with himself because he's so handsome. So can you imagine a lion, crawling on the savannah trying to find lunch? And in the middle takes out a selfie and start to brush its hair. And
But the same
my
goes
nails
for
are so beautiful today. Like, what's wrong with you? So there is something about us.
But the
in
same
way.
goes for the gazelle that he's hunting.
Yeah, she's
If the
also
gazelle is not busy running away,
absolutely.
but it's like so.
Today I don't smell very well. Lunch. So now we don't live in the jungle anymore. We are funny, and I would also add this humor on top, because it makes us awake. Like, wow, what am I doing now? That's kind of a place where we raise awareness to the slight madness that we are as normal people, so-called, and start to see how do we run the show, or how do we reorient attention, how do we reorient our resources for that purpose.
Yeah. So just one more thing to to wrap the practicality of this. Yeah. So let's say someone is unhappy with their body, suffering from the way they look, of not being able to reach how they would like to look. What would be the very, very first step for them to reorient their attention?
Okay. Usually when I work with people, it's not so much the aesthetic issue. It's pain, it's trauma.
But this
But
can be
also this-
painful.
exactly.
Right? So
Exactly. So the first thing to do, and it's beautiful also when we do it with eyes closed, because a lot of the visual input is bombarding our eyes. But if people start to sense the body, just to sense it, and to shift from the judgment is a concept. There is a mismatch between the picture and the stuff. Okay, it's like you bought something on Amazon and doesn't look like the picture. I don't have a lot of experience, but some of my friends do. So we have a mismatch, and then we start to suffer. The whole ego thing, you can open a Buddhistic book and you will see it there. It's all over the place. When you close your eyes, or when you take a breath and you start sensing, you are moving from the concept to the percept. We spoke about this. You are moving from thinking about an impression that you see in the mirror to sensing it, being it. You come to terms with yourself again. So we, in different ways, we are shifting from the way you imagine it, and we are haunted by our imagination. And then we go into the sensation, into the feeling of what is happening. And then we start to reallocate. It's like to reorient. It's a bit like driving, what we spoke about, the movement of attention. I can reorient, I can drive it to start sensing it in a fresh way. And then I can start to build a bridge. And gradually, the screaming judgment in my mind becomes less dramatic or not the only voice. So I would say practically we reorient this through embodiment.
yeah.
But unlike the embodiment training that just to raise embodied awareness in general, with the attention we always start to speak about navigation, the sort of a navigation in space. It's a hyperspace of movement. We are a little bit like a cuttlefish or like an octopus because our attention morphs. It's a shape shifter.
Yeah.
So we transform. So part of the transformation is the ability to drive it away from there and to sense this instead.
Yeah, and I love how you phrased it, that it is training and it takes time. It's like it will become easier and easier the more you go down this road, the more familiar you will be with it.
Yeah.
It's like it's not the one thing that you have to understand and then it will feel different, but it's like train it. Train to train to pay attention to how you feel in your body. Yeah. And just watch what happens along the way.
Exactly. And then you already create an alternative and a broader expansion of your span of attention. And I would even say it like this: most of those issues that we drag into adulthood, about how we look, for instance, and the way attention is combined in this, start already when we are teens.
For sure.
So,
if not earlier.
Yeah. So in very early ages, it already starts to creep in. Yeah. So I would say we should advance on our education. That embodiment, who am I? Also in puberty, also when we start changing or growing, the way that I can still be a friend of my body, be embodied in the transformation. Yeah. And to understand that it's me and it's okay and it's nature working and I'm transforming with it. It's a very touching thing because when you work with children, you see how confusing it gets. And then I'm trying to hang on the picture or on an image or Instagram because this is the solid thing while my inner experience is in turmoil. So here we try to work the other way around and to teach you, yes, this turmoil is part of nature and part of your movement, part of how you are becoming. It's training to become. That's the beauty of it. And I think it's really should start early because you see the results As
Yes.
adults, we are
Yes.
bombarded with how ugly we are and how fat we are, or how that we are.
And how easy it is to have a little surgery to fix it. This is also getting more and more common. Right?
Absolutely.
So I think this is really like this is a door into a very deep form of body positivity, basically.
Just a little story.
Okay.
In the 19th century, Berlin was one of the centers of plastic surgery.
Really?
Yeah, and there was a doctor here called Joseph, Dr. Joseph.
Uh-huh.
And he happened to be Jewish. He was a Jewish doctor, a very, very successful one. And all the Jewish congregations of Berlin, male and female, were flocking to his surgery room.
Uh-huh.
So they came to this Jew doctor, being Jewish themselves, and everything they cared about, and before Instagram, this was like 1800 something, or 1900.
1900
yeah,
probably.
very early,
Mm-hmm.
was to fix their Jewish noses.
No way.
Yes.
Oh
And he
my
was so
God.
successful that he was known as Dr. Nosef instead of Dr. Joseph. But you see already, immediately when surgery came on board,
Yeah.
this possibility, it went into this way. So let's fix me up.
Mm-hmm.
And of course we can understand that it's a human aspect, but we can also reconsider and try to pose an alternative to this in order to allow people to have some kind of a ground to choose differently and not just to look at themselves like a walking garage. That I would take the car now and change this and change this and change this and change that. And in order to be according to the picture,
Yeah.
like this is very, very severe. If you think we are oppressed by beauty.
Mm-hmm. Or what some perceive as beauty, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is even not so. I'm not so sure about.
For sure.
This
It's also
definition.
shifting in history. There is a lot of
Yeah,
interesting
for sure.
examples. But this is it's really something to consider. And I do think that embodiment and attention, reorienting it, can help a hell of a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's much healthier and much cheaper than trying to fix your nose or all these crazy things that we are doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.